Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today I'm in this 2011 second generation Bentley Continental GT, which belongs to a friend of mine. He's had it for around 3 years and done about 35,000 miles in it, and handily he's kept a list of everything that he's spent on it. All the repairs, all the servicing costs, so it should give us a good real world breakdown of what it's like to run one of these heavily depreciated luxury coupes. Before I get onto the video, I just wanted to mention something. Last year I created an online educational course to help people get into, or at least learn more about, the used car business. I kept being asked for advice on how best to get into the industry, so I thought the best thing to do would be to create this online platform. There are nearly 100 videos on every single aspect of the used motor trade. How to start, funding options, branding, where to source stock from. There's literally a video on everything. Everyone I've spoken to who purchased the course have gone on to start their own business, and all the feedback I've had has been positive. I've had lots of comments from people telling me how helpful it's been. 12 months later, what I've decided to do is change it up slightly. So rather than just one-off payment, which I understand in these quite difficult times is a bit of a commitment, I've decided to reduce the cost of the course to just £27 a month, and you can keep going for as long as you like, and you can cancel at any time. In addition to that, I'm going to do a regular Zoom call, so if you've got any questions or queries, then I will give you my honest and frank opinion. And don't worry if you miss those, because they'll be recorded and then uploaded so you can catch them at any time. That way you can go back, watch them, and learn from other people's questions. So I'll leave the link below in the description so you can check it out for yourself. Right, back to the Bentley. Last year I bought a very low mileage 2005 Bentley Continental GT. It had only done 18,000 miles, and I loved it. It was something of a dream car for me because I'd always wanted one. I bought that and a very low mileage SL55 Mercedes, and I couldn't really afford to keep them both, so one had to go. But I couldn't decide which. After a couple of months of using the Bentley, I decided to sell that and keep the SL instead. The Bentley wasn't really a car that I could use on a daily basis, as much as I tried, and it just wasn't as much fun as the SL55. So I didn't really see the appeal of keeping the Bentley as a Sunday car. Happily, however, this second generation Bentley is a big improvement over the first, and as far as I can tell, this would make a great car to use every day. All of the minor gripes I had with the first one have now been ironed out. To the untrained eye, this second generation Continental GT, which ran from 2011 until 2018, looks just like the first. There are some differences though, big differences. Styling wise, it is very similar to the first generation, only this is less rounded, more chiselled. The rear end of the first generation was quite bulbous and a little bit flabby. This isn't. This is more sculpted. You also get LED DRLs, which are just much more modern. The front end has received a mild facelift and it's been embellished with a bit more jewellery. I think it looks great. You get a power opening boot lid, which is something you just didn't get on the previous model, and to be honest, that was something that started to annoy me. This sounds very petty, but with the one I had, I'd finish work, open the boot, put my stuff in the back, and you'd end up getting dirty hands. Then you'd have to get in the beautiful pale interior with mucky fingers. Now thankfully it's all done by the push of a button. The biggest improvement with this second generation all lie inside. Firstly, you get a new gauge cluster which is much more modern and up to date than the previous model. That did look very old-fashioned, but now thankfully they've dragged it into the 21st century. You get a new, uncomplicated infotainment system. That was something that was woefully outdated on the previous model. And because of its age, the previous generation didn't have Bluetooth hands-free or Bluetooth streaming. These might not seem like big or important issues, but they really are. If you're going to use a car every single day, it needs to have Bluetooth hands-free. You want to be able to play your own music through it, rather than relying on CDs or cassettes. I'm on my phone all day long and I don't want 6 points on my licence, so Bluetooth is essential. Thankfully this second generation has it. The next big improvement on this second generation, I know you'll laugh at this. Any guesses? It's the cup holders. The first generation only had one and it was buried under the centre armrests. There also wasn't any additional storage down here, so you just had nowhere to put your phone, your keys, your wallet, your car keys, whatever it is you carry with you. And I know I always keep banging on about cup holders in these car videos, but they are important. I've always got loads of things on me and I need somewhere to put them when I get in a car. Now with the previous generation that I was using for a couple of months, I ended up just throwing them on the passenger seat every time and then they'd roll around. It got quite annoying. You could, I suppose, put these items in your pockets or, I don't know, maybe buy a man bag, but I just can't bring myself to have a man bag. Mainly because I don't get any nasty letters from the CSA, nor do I sell drugs, so I can't have one, I'm not allowed. With this second generation, Bentley have got you covered, because not only have they brought the cup holders forward, making it much more accessible, they've also doubled the capacity. In addition to that, you get some more storage down here where you can throw your keys, or your wallet, or your phone. It's just much more sensibly laid out. You get a new style steering wheel, which I don't recognise from the VW parts bin. The previous steering wheel was straight from a Touareg, which wasn't the prettiest thing in the world, but this This looks good. One little gripe on a £130,000 car: there's no heated steering wheel. It was an optional extra. So unless you specified that, or the first owner specified that, all you get is this little blanking button. I just cannot believe they didn't throw that in for free. Under the bonnet of this one is the famous 6-litre twin turbocharged W12. The horsepower has increased slightly to 567, and it has a top speed of 198 miles an hour. Nearly 200 miles an hour in something with quilted leather and massaging seats. It's unbelievable. Just like the first one, the results are breathtaking. It's properly quick. But because it's so quiet and refined, you'll find yourself doubting the speedometer. In addition to this 6-litre W12 engine, Bentley also offered the second generation Continental GT with a smaller engine. You could buy it with a 4-litre twin-turbo V8, which produces 507 horsepower and has a top speed of 190. That V8 is lauded for being 40% more economical than this big W12, which sounds good, but in reality, the numbers that we're talking doesn't really make much difference. This will do 12 or 13 miles per gallon around town, and the V8 will do 17 or 18. So it isn't a huge difference. I've been driving this quite sensibly today around town, and I managed to get 14.7 miles per gallon from it. If you've got quite a heavy right foot, that figure will be down to about 11.5. On a steady motorway run sitting at the speed limit, you should get 22 or 23 miles per gallon from it. They're not great figures, are they? I'm not going to suggest for 1 minute that they are, but for a car of this type, I think it's just something you've got to accept. The road tax here in the UK will set you back £600 a year. It's in the highest bracket. But on a happier note, this is ULEZ and Clean Air Zone compliant. Filling the tank will set you back £110, and you must use premium fuel. These engines are very sensitive. If it senses for a second that you've been a cheapskate and filled it full of 4-star, it'll throw an engine light on. Now onto the real world reliability. My pal bought this about 3 years ago and he's done 35,000 miles in it. He bought it from a garage with a proper Bentley warranty, and on his way home the engine light pinged on. So it went back to Bentley Manchester and it had all 12 spark plugs replaced at a cost of around £800. Now when I did mine, Bentley Manchester recommended that I had the spark plugs done, and I didn't get it done because it was too expensive. I used my local garage. They did it for a quarter of that price. The next issue is with the lovely Breitling clock. The backlight broke, making it as dim as a footballer. So, because it was still under warranty, it went back to Bentley, and they replaced the whole clock. That was around £600. Then there was a rattle coming from these centre armrests. That was a couple of hours labour, which cost about £300. About 18 months ago, the electronic handbrake seized, so it had to be recovered. That was about £600 to fix. Last year the engine light came on again and it was misfiring quite violently. That turned out to be 2 dodgy coil packs. That cost around £250, job done. Then there was a hydraulic pipe that broke, sending out all that mineral oil all over the tarmac. That was quite a labour intensive job, so that set my friend back about £1,500. But that's it. It's not bad going, is it, for 40,000 miles in a £130,000 car? In terms of servicing and other costs, a set of winter tyres cost £2,000 for a set, which is something my mate had to have because of where he lives. He has it serviced and MOT'd every year, and he always says that costs around £1,200 because there's always a set of brake pads or something else trivial that needs to be replaced. But again, it's not a frightening amount, is it, when you consider what you get for your money? He recommended a garage called GT Services who are based in Crewe. Now they're Bentley specialists. Now this is something that I always recommend. Find a good specialist and just stick with them, which is exactly what he's done. Prices here in the UK for this second generation start at around £35,000, but you'll have to spend around 40 if you want one with under 60,000 miles on the clock. And for that kind of money, I really can't think of a better car. There's nothing else out there that offers better value for money. You're getting a £130,000 car for the same price as a new 5 Series. It's unbelievable value. I remember saying something similar in my last Bentley video, but you really ought to try and find a nice, original, unmolested example, not one that's been pimped up. That's always a good indication of the kind of life it's had. Also, these kinds of cars change hands regularly, so I wouldn't be put off by one that's had 6, 7 or 8 owners. It's just that kind of car, unfortunately. Something else I'd recommend you do is spend a little bit extra and get a Mulliner spec. It's just so much better. Whenever I've been looking at these in the classifieds and you find one that isn't a Mulliner, they just look very plain. With the Mulliner model, you get nicer wheels. You also get this nice, soft, quilted leather interior. The seats are heated and ventilated, and if you press this little button on the side, they'll even give you a massage. I just think if you're seriously considering buying a Bentley, then do it properly. Go for a Mulliner spec. It's fast, quiet, comfortable and imposing, and it's very easy to drive. Anybody could drive this. The steering's nicely weighted, the seats are very comfortable, and as you sit here in traffic looking around, it's just exquisite. There really is no better word for it than that. I love a GT car. It's probably my favourite kind of car. Most sports cars are just too compromised, but a nice big GT car, they somehow, for me at least, managed to roll multiple cars into one. I remember saying when I filmed with mine that was the best car I'd ever driven, and it was. But this has taken its crown. So thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. If you've got any comments or questions, let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Don't forget to check out my online course if you're interested in getting into the used car business. I'll leave the link below. And yeah, until next time, cheers guys.